The stranger at the station. The morning light filtered through the tall arched windows of Grand Central Station, casting long golden shadows across the marble floor. Sarah Mitchell stood near the ticket counter, her 3-year-old son Tommy sleeping peacefully against her shoulder. His small arms were wrapped around her neck, his breathing soft and steady despite the bustling noise of the busy terminal. Sarah's blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, strands escaping to frame her tired face. She wore a plain white t-shirt and jeans, practical clothes that had seen better days but were clean and comfortable. Her purse hung from her free arm, its contents carefully counted and recounted in her mind. $37.43. Not enough for 2 train tickets home. The station hummed with activity around her. Business people hurried past with their briefcases and coffee cups. Families wheeled their luggage toward distant platforms. Announcements echoed from speakers high above, calling out departures and arrivals in measured tones. But Sarah felt frozen in place, caught between her desperate need to get home and the reality of her empty wallet. She had come to the city for a job interview, a position that promised better pay and a chance to build a stable life for Tommy. The babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, so she'd brought him along, confident that everything would work out. The interview had gone well, she thought, but they wouldn't know for several days. Now, standing in the vast terminal, she realized she had miscalculated the return fare. Sarah approached the ticket window with hesitant steps. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked up expectantly. 2 tickets to Hartford, please, Sarah said quietly, hoping somehow the price had magically decreased since her arrival that morning. That'll be $68, the clerk replied efficiently. Sarah's heart sank. She had known the answer before asking, but hope had carried her forward anyway. She fumbled in her purse, pulling out crumpled bills and counting them slowly, buying time she didn't have. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the station's ambient noise. "I can't pay. I don't have enough." The clerk's expression softened with understanding and sympathy. "I'm sorry, honey. I wish I could help, but it's okay," Sarah interrupted, stepping back from the window. "I understand." She turned away, Tommy still sleeping against her shoulder, and walked toward a nearby bench. Her mind raced through possibilities. She could call her sister, but Lisa was struggling financially too. Her parents lived across the country and had made their disapproval of her situation clear. She had no credit cards, no emergency fund. The hope that this interview would change everything. As Sarah sat down heavily on the wooden bench, Tommy stirred slightly but remained asleep. She stroked his soft hair, fighting back tears of frustration and fear. How would they get home? The city suddenly felt enormous and unfriendly, full of strangers who wouldn't understand her predicament. "Excuse me," a gentle voice interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Sarah looked up to see a man in his late 30s standing nearby. He wore a well-tailored dark suit and held what appeared to be a document in his hand. His brown hair was neatly styled, and his expression was calm and approachable. Despite his professional appearance, there was something warm in his eyes that put her slightly at ease. "I couldn't help but overhear," he said softly, glancing at Tommy to ensure his voice wouldn't wake the sleeping child. "You need tickets to Hartford." Sarah felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She nodded, unable to find her voice immediately. "I'm David Reynolds," he said, extending his free hand, "and I think I might be able to help." Sarah shook his hand hesitantly. "Sarah Mitchell, but really I couldn't accept before you say no," David interrupted gently. "Let me tell you something. I work for the railroad company. These windows, these platforms, this entire station, I see hundreds of people every day facing exactly this situation. Single parents, elderly folks on fixed incomes, students trying to get home." He sat down on the bench beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. Tommy shifted slightly, his small hand gripping Sarah's shirt more tightly in his sleep. The company has a discretionary fund," David continued, his voice warm and matter-of-fact. "It's specifically designed to help passengers in situations like yours. Consider it a loan if that makes you more comfortable, but honestly, we prefer to think of it as an investment in basic human kindness." Sarah stared at him, searching his face for any sign that this was too good to be true. "You work for the railroad?" David nodded and showed her the document in his hand, official letterhead and his business card clipped to the top. "I'm the regional operations manager. I was here this morning reviewing our customer service protocols when I heard your conversation with the clerk." "I don't understand," Sarah said slowly. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." David's expression grew thoughtful. 5 years ago I was in a similar situation. Not exactly the same, but close enough. I had moved to the city for a new job, and my first paycheck was delayed. I found myself stranded at this very station with no way to get to my new apartment. A stranger, an elderly woman with a cane and a kind smile, bought me a subway token and gave me $20 for a taxi. He paused, watching a group of tourists navigate the terminal with their maps and guidebooks. She told me that someday, when I was in a position to help someone else, I should remember that moment. So I do. Every day. Tommy began to wake up, blinking slowly and looking around with the confused expression of a child emerging from deep sleep. He noticed David and studied him with the frank curiosity that only small children possess. "Hi there," David said softly. "To Tommy, what's your name?" "Tommy," the little boy replied, his voice still thick with sleep. "Nice to meet you, Tommy. I'm David." Sarah felt something tight in her chest begin to loosen. This stranger, this man who had no obligation to notice her struggle, had seen her humanity when she felt most invisible. "I can pay you back," she said, though they both knew it might take time. "If you want to, that's fine," David replied. "But there's no pressure. The fund exists because people need help sometimes. That's not a character flaw, it's just life." He stood up and gestured toward the ticket window. "Shall we get you both home?" As they walked together toward the counter, Tommy fully awake now and taking in the sights of the busy station, Sarah felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her, not just for the practical help but for the reminder that kindness existed in unexpected places. The clerk smiled when she saw them approaching. David spoke quietly to her, and within minutes Sarah held 2 tickets to Hartford in her hands. "Thank you," Sarah said to David, the words feeling inadequate for the magnitude of his gesture. "Thank the elderly woman with the cane," he replied with a smile. "I never got her name, but she's the one who started this." As Sarah and Tommy boarded their train home, she made a silent promise to herself. Someday, when she was in a position to help someone else, she would remember this moment at Grand Central Station. She would remember David Reynolds and the unnamed woman who had helped him years before. The train pulled away from the platform, carrying them toward home and toward a future that suddenly seemed a little brighter, a little more filled with possibility and human connection.